Wrong button.
Trying to break the chain. Martinez up the sideline. Still running. Look at it. Taylor Martinez. What a run. He's got it away. Martinez. Wow. Taylor Martinez. Touchdown. Huskers. Play fake. Beathard sets up deep in the pocket. Goes down the field for Smith.
Has some time. Right corner of the end zone. Touchdown!
Steps up, does it. Pass is caught. That'll move the six. Tyrone Tracy. There he goes. Tracy. Towards the end zone for the Iowa touchdown.
Oh, if that doesn't get your blood pumping for Saturday morning, it's Big Ten breakfast. I'm your host with the most. Corey, also with Shane and Christopher May, who has looked like he had just got done with watching Nebraska highlights for the last 10 years. You see the puffy eyes. It's all right, bud. No need to cry before Saturday morning football.
I got to get it out now.
Yeah. You know, I love the intro. It just seems like a what not to do Northwestern highlight video.
Yeah.
There's like 3 videos of Northwestern just getting the crap beat out of them in those videos, like horrible tackling, losing on the final play of the game.
Well, and I'm thinking too, like, there's just too many Husker clips. You know, I mean, they're irrelevant. They're not going to really draw in an audience. And so I think,
Taylor Martinez was electric there,
and he's getting inducted into the Husker Ring or Hall of Fame, I think.
Hey, hear that, Corey?
is that the first induction? I mean, how does that work? Like, could have made pro or had pro potential? Is that how you get inducted into the Husker Hall of Fame? Or...
You just got to be one bad man pajama.
When's the last time someone got inducted to the Husker Hall of Fame? Has it been 10 years since someone worthwhile has been? I'm sorry. I'm coming off strong. I apologize.
I'm not sure. Let me look.
I saw he got a job working for.
He's like an app designer here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, it says there's a 2023 Nebraska Football Hall of Fame inductees. There's David Clark, defensive tackle from the 70s and 80s. Troy Dumas, linebacker from the 90s. Sam Coate, punter. Kyle Van Bosch, defensive end. There's actually quite a few here. There's like 10 people.
We don't have a Hall of Fame because if you play with an Iowa uniform on, you pretty much are just, you know.
I mean, you guys don't have national champions either, so I mean, why would you have a Hall of Fame?
We do have a national championship. Thank you very much.
Here we go. In the 1812s, I forgot.
It still counts. If Packers can count their Lombardi wins, we can count our one national championship against. I don't even know who it was against, Notre Dame or something. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, if we do change the intro, I need to see more like Spencer Petras or Ricky Stanzi. You know, I need to see some Iowa quarterbacks that, you know,
play action roll.
Yeah. Well, I will admit that one that we have in there with the CJ Beathard throw, that is a pretty pass. That was a perfect pass.
It's the most heartbreaking play for me to see every time we play this intro because it just reminds me of what eventually happened.
Did they lose that game?
It wasn't just they lost that game because that touchdown, it was a defensive battle that game. And Beathard threw that pass. I think it was third quarter or something like that. And it was the most beautiful pass, but it also got us the lead. And the way our defense was playing, whoever had the lead at that point in time was going to win the game. And then Michigan State did their little dink and dive drive, decided to take all of the 2 minutes. And then with I can't remember how many seconds were left. It was 5 seconds left. They ran a power I run off the strong side. And, man, there was 3 Hawkeyes there that grabbed him at the 1, and that kid just kept moving his legs and got the tip of the ball over the white line. And that's how Michigan State went on to get blown out in the playoffs. Yeah. So
was that Mel Tucker's first, or was that Mel Tucker's 11-2 season, or was that D'Antoni still?
I think it was D'Antoni, because
he was before Tucker.
Yeah, he thanked God for letting him beat.
Which have we talked about that? It looks like he's actually getting fired now.
Oh yeah, big news out of
I saw that it looked like he's actually going to get fired. Did any more news come out about the story? I didn't actually.
So what they've done is they've decided to let him know that they're going to fire him, and then he has 7 days to appeal the firing with cause. So I'm sure it'll go into an appeal process, but it seems like Michigan State's made their mind. In their contract, it said anything that could bring dishonor to Michigan State or whatever, bad publicity, would be considered a reason for cause. So it appears that that's, even if none of this is true with the woman, non-consensual phone sex, which I can't believe we're fucking talking about. If it's non-consensual, hang up the phone. But anyway, yeah, it sounds like Mel Tucker is out at Michigan State. So that program is just, they got blown out last week.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Well, I don't remember what I was listening to last night, but they were talking about how that the players, are such Mel Tucker people that they might just intentionally tank the season, but I don't know. That's kind of hard to think and believe that those kids would do that, but just like a big FU to Michigan State, like we fire our guy, we're gonna go, we're gonna go over this year.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. They can't transfer, right? Because it's in season, so
have to wait till next year.
But because you get a free one though, right? If
you
your
do
coach
now.
gets fired or whatever, you get a free one. So
yeah, he had something like that. I'm
not good for Michigan State. There's a program that has been so close to just being dominant. They get real close, and then they have stupid shit like this happen, and it just completely destroys their program. And now they're going to be back at square one yet again. And you got to be happy as a Michigan fan, because it just means you're not going to have to worry about any surprise upsets.
Well, and then going through, unless you grew up wanting to go to Michigan State, I feel like when things like this happen, we definitely get a little bit of a monopoly with the Michigan players coming out of high school. They have a lot easier of a time recruiting, saying, well, we don't have all this controversy hanging over our program. And then there was the incidents last year, if you remember, in the Michigan tunnel when a bunch of Michigan State players got charged with assault. And regardless, I'm sure the players involved on the Michigan side instigated it, but they weren't the ones swinging the helmets and getting jumped in the locker room. So regardless, it's just one thing after another with them lately. And then there just hasn't been as much stuff going on with Michigan. And so when, unless they grew up wanting to play for the Spartans, then I think we have a little bit of an easier time recruiting in our own state than we do against little brother there. And then I guess a good segue into that was last week the first week Mel Tucker wasn't there? Did he coach the first 2 games and then he wasn't, or did he only coach the first game this year?
Was it just the first game he coached?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, regardless, they let Washington go into their future Big Ten team, by the way. So obviously showing that they can take on these Big Ten teams we have now 41-7. And I think I wish we had the clip, but I think Chris and I both said we would change that line up because it was 17, and they beat them by even more than I thought they would.
They worked them like a part-time job.
Oh my God, it was bad, dude.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, 14-7. So do you guys want to go over last week's results before we get into this week? I don't think we actually did.
Yeah, one more thing on Michigan State. It's funny though. It's not funny, but they brought back D'Antoni as like an advisory role.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if he retired or they pushed him out or what happened with him. You know, if he just kind of saw it on the writing on the wall and was like, maybe it's time for me to get out. But like to come back to help, you know, I mean, like I said, I don't know how his exit went, but I mean, that's someone who loves the program. You know, it's like, yeah, no matter how it ended, I'll come back to help, you know, right the ship because, you know, I bleed that ugly green and white or whatever the fuck those colors are for Michigan State.
Yeah.
He stepped down in 2020, and now he's coming back to. It's I liked Mark D'Antonio. I thought he was
he's not bad. He's not bad.
You think if Nick Saban walks away, you think Michigan State tries to bring him back to complete the circle?
No,
I don't think Nick Saban would go from Bama to Michigan State.
Well, that would involve Bama having to get rid of him too.
And it's like that dude
or if he walks away. I'm not saying Bama will get rid of Nick Saban. I'm saying Nick Saban's probably like, can't get me a quarterback. Got to get me out of here.
If you can't, but if you can't get a quarterback at Alabama, there's no way you're getting a better quarterback in Michigan State, right?
Yeah, true.
I mean, and the SEC is only going to get harder now that Texas has showed that they can compete with them.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens with Oklahoma. And they've been beating the crap out of everyone they played, but they do this every year. We don't know how good they're going to be till they actually get to a bowl game or get to the playoffs or whatever to the end of the season. So we'll see what happens with them. Cool. Well, we have a few games to go over from last week.
Yeah.
I did get a little bit of a lead on you guys in the spread picks. The two that I missed was the fucking Hawkeyes. I picked plus 29 for Western Michigan, which, for a while there, they kept it really close. I was like, whoa, dude. I think they were up on you guys at one point.
Yeah, it started off disgustingly horrible.
Yeah. So what happened with that game? Did you watch it?
Well, first of all, Iowa started off by choosing to receive and start on offense, which I don't know why they do. They do this from time to time to shake things up, and it just drives me nuts. If you have paid attention to Iowa Hawkeye football from the beginning of the Kirk Ferentz era, it's always get the ball at the second half. We always put our defense out on the field first because our defense is practically our best offense. So why wouldn't you have them? But no, they decided we're going to show that Brian Ferentz has game planned a wonderful game against Western Michigan. And first drive, they throw an interception. Cade McNamara still shaking off some rust, obviously.
Okay.
Getting used to his receivers and so forth and getting used to horrible play calling. So, it started off sketchy. I kept thinking of the stat that we were 1-2 against Western Michigan the entire time we were down. But our team eventually just wore those boys out. They came to play. I give it to them. They had hope for 2 quarters of that game. And eventually our defense shut it down. But yeah, it was.
What did you do? Put 41 up?
Yeah, they put so much up that their coach had a little to say in
I know
press conference, right?
That press conference, although it was fake, or I mean, most of it was real, but the funny part was AI. AI might be scary and might screw the world over in the future, but these little press clippings that they can do and just make it look seamless. I died laughing when I thought it was real. I was like, that would be some Iowa shit right there. Get your little step ladders, climb up, and get out of my ass. Like I was like, wow. I would say that if I was an offense coordinator, just getting shit on every day about how crappy of a play caller I am.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Yeah, that was a win by Iowa.
This is the video May's talking about with Brian Ferentz responds to critical.
Iowa football program won 8 games last season, including a victory in the Music City Bowl. A good season despite having one of the wins in all of course, one of the lightning rods when it comes to that offense and those struggles was offensive coordinator Ryan Ferentz, the son of head coach Kirk Ferentz, will be back in 2023.
Oh.
But
this isn't a report. My bad. My apologies. I fucked that all up.
No, you're good.
I thought that was the one. Yeah, no, that was they had to actually come out and say it was fake.
Yeah, and then that was a good win for you guys. Unorthodox Iowa winning by so many points, but of course you win by 31. The books say you're going to win by 29. It's ridiculous how close they are sometimes on those spreads that the
I don't think I shared it in the group, but it was all over my TikTok for like the sports betting and stuff. How like a lot of these like hardcore gamblers were like, did Vegas make a phone call, in this Iowa game? Because you can see where would they go? They went for it right on like 4th and goal, didn't kick the field goal and ended up scoring the touchdown at the end, and that I think pushed it over.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that happened in week what was that, 3? So I mean, it was pretty interesting. I don't know if we'll never find out if Vegas has that kind of power, but it would not surprise me if they do, have that kind of mafia mentality where they're like, we are not about to get taken to the woodshed and pay out this kind of money. So this is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen. It's going to look effortless. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. If a story comes out when we're all 65, sitting on our front porch that, Vegas controlled all these outcomes to save themselves, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that'd definitely be interesting. There was a controversy over the Rams, the LA Rams game. If you saw that game, they were down by 10 and they decided to kick a field goal with the last 4 seconds of the game, and that field goal pushed the bet to a push.
Yeah.
That way everyone just got their money back, versus if they would have not kicked the field goal, then I forgot who they were playing, but the other team would have covered the spread. So it was just a weird, who kicks a field goal with 4 seconds left when you're down 10? Why not just go for a bomb of a touchdown?
Exactly.
That's a weird thing. And I know Sean McVay had a big old press conference. He had comments about it, trying to defend his field goal, which was just weird. That was weird to me too. So yeah. I get it. Maybe if you're in like the first game we played this year, when you're down, you're being blown out, and you just kick a field goal to get points on the board. I get that for college teams, but for the NFL teams, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised either. Any more comments on Michigan, Corey or Chris? Or I'm not Michigan. I'm sorry, Iowa, Western Michigan. That's what I mean.
There was a couple of really promising things from watching that game, and that was our run game had, and I understand it's Western Michigan, but it was nice to see, our run game. We Jazz Peterson, he had a sore ankle, so he didn't get as many touches, but our backup,
LaShawn Williams,
fucking murdered it. So I thought that was a good sign to see. Our defense is not as strong as last year. But I am cautiously optimistic about the Hawkeyes. Now, I don't know if that's just because we haven't really taken on anyone. And I'm sure we'll get to talk about Penn State, but
we'll get to that.
Yeah. So I felt good walking out of that game, looking at my team, thinking, all right,
that's good. Yeah.
At least they're clicking on some level right now.
Cool. The other one that I missed, that we all missed on, actually, was Louisville at Indiana. Louisville was favored by 10. They only won by 7. Still expected outcome, but just a few points off of the spread there on that one. Indiana just doesn't look very good this year. Every 5 years or so, they get a team that clicks, and this isn't going to be the year for them. So, same with Illinois. They got blown out by Penn State, 30-13. Yeah, Northwestern got blown out by Duke, 38-14. This one, I was actually surprised because I know it looks like we lost Corey there. I know you, Chris, you thought Georgia Southern would have been given up a little bit better of a fight against Wisconsin, and they did for a while, but
yeah.
35-14 was the final on that one. So Wisconsin looked pretty good at the end of that game.
Yeah, and they looked good last night too.
Yeah, they had. Who did they beat last night? They beat. Let's see here. Purdue. Yeah, Purdue's
Yeah,
pretty
and
bad.
Purdue looks bad.
Yeah, Purdue does not look good.
Yeah.
They lost last week to Syracuse,
Yeah.
35-20. So they
Yeah,
haven't
but
looked very
Syracuse
good.
is not bad. I like that quarterback.
Mm.
I like what Syracuse. That's why I was gonna text in the group. Like, is Wisconsin actually good, or is Purdue just so bad right now that we can't really get a good get? Like, but I said, Braylon Allen, stud muffin. I mean, that guy is yeah, he's a beast.
What was the final score to the Wisconsin Purdue game?
It was 38, I believe, to 38-17 Wisconsin. Wisconsin actually had, so this was last night. This was technically week 4. Wisconsin had like 200 something rushing yards, 280 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. So I think that's their bread and butter. The one game they lost this year was the game they didn't rush the ball as well. The other 3 wins that they have is they've been able to just run over their opponents rushing the ball. So I think that's going to be where they're going to win and lose games. Is if
Yeah.
they can rush it, they're going to be tough to play. If they can't, if they can't rush the ball at all, they're going to have issues. And actually, it's interesting with the Purdue thing as well, because Purdue, they've lost 2 games. They lost against they lost their first game was an upset. They lost last week against, they lost last night against Wisconsin really bad. But they did beat Virginia Tech, and then Virginia Tech got blown out by Rutgers last week. So very interesting. I don't know if that's just the bottom of the Big Ten, kind of just you don't never know what's going to happen with those teams if they're all just really bad. But Rutgers is 3-0 coming into.
I think Rutgers is. I just there's something about Shiano.
Mhm.
He'll get them. They won't ever be at the top in the Big Ten, but they'll be bowl winning. They'll be bowl going.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get Rutgers right where they need to be. Where he'll be there for fucking 50 years if he wants this time, and they'll be competitive, but they won't be upper echelon Big Ten.
Yeah, I get that. Minnesota took their first loss. They lost to UNC last week, 13-31. I thought that was kind of expected. I thought they'd put up a little bit more of a fight.
Yeah, me too. That's
their
why I
offense.
rode them hard. But yeah,
I just don't think their offense is good enough to compete in the Big Ten for a title or even a title game. I don't think their offense is good enough to compete. So I'll probably take them out of my race for the West right now. I think honestly Iowa might be leading that race right now after having Wisconsin lose that one game. Who knows though? Once Big Ten play starts today for real, we'll kind of get into a lot of that. Ohio State beat Western Kentucky, beat the crap out of them, 63-10. So that was, I knew they'd win. I picked them to cover. I didn't know they'd beat them by that much. That was a little surprising to me. The only other 2 games that happened last week was Michigan. We beat Bowling Green 31-6. So it's like the score looks like, yeah, but like Cade struggled. He had 3 interceptions in that game.
You mean JJ?
Yeah, or JJ, I'm sorry. Yeah, had 3 interceptions in that game. So that was a rough one to see. I mean, obviously our defense, they couldn't do anything past, in the 2 times they got into field goal range, it was just 3 and out once they got to that position. So they couldn't go any farther.
What type of picks was he throwing, Shane?
2 of them were just bad mistakes. 2 of them were plays where he was running to the sideline. And any NFL quarterback would have thrown it away. He tried to make a play and threw it straight to a defender. Like the dude got, the offensive line broke. Someone got through. He's running for his life. He's not going to get any yards on the ground. Just throw the ball away. All of these were on 1st and 2nd down. It's not like it was 3rd down. It's not like we're in a game where you needed the points. And he just threw it up, tried to make a ridiculous throw that he's not capable of doing. I don't think yet in his career, and he just was picked off twice doing that. The 3rd one was in the back of the end zone. I just don't think he saw the defender. I think it was we were close to the goal line. The defense gets really bunched up back there, and I think he just had a miscue on his read. So hopefully that was just You know,
Do you
I'd
think?
rather him get those out now against teams like Bowling Green where it's not going to matter, than, you're playing Ohio State. You're not going to beat Ohio State with 3 interceptions. So, or Penn
Do you,
State or
do you
any of
think
these
this
other.
is Heisman talk that maybe he's buying into that he could be a Heisman candidate? So he's
I don't think statistically, I don't think he's there. I mean, real
No.
honestly, I hate to say it, but Shedeur Sanders is probably leading the Heisman race just based off the overall statistics that the guy has, or Bo Nix from Oregon. Those guys, I would think,
Penix. But you're
yeah.
right. It's
So
it's a Pac-12 quarterback right now.
Yeah, he's packed. Yeah, it's because it's not. I mean, they put up the numbers where they need it. So, and Blake Corum's not having an explosive as of a year as he was last year at the start of the season. We're trying not to overwork him, so he's not getting as many touches as he did last year. So, overall, not too much to take away. JJ needs to fix some of those mistakes. But other than that, like,
I think it's a hardball thing. I guarantee you see JJ get back into form today.
Harbaugh will set him straight.
Yeah, because I think it's he's he's not lost without daddy, but with all the experiments that they're doing at Michigan, once Harbaugh comes back and he's that steady voice, you're gonna see JJ, get his shit together.
I think today against Rutgers, we're at home. It's our first Big Ten game. Rutgers is good, but I think he has a good game.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that. I do want to let you talk about your boys beating up on Northern Illinois last week, though, because that's the final Big Ten game we haven't talked about. 35-11. What'd you see in Nebraska?
We had that. We turned the ball over that one time with that blindside pressure, and we gave it up in our end, and our defense held them to a field goal. Like we didn't score a touchdown. Harburg, I mean, he looked really good. What I'm really kind of worried though about with this damn offense is it's like a one read thing. If they don't see the one read, they take off, which is fine, which is whatever. But it's like eventually we're gonna have to learn how to read the defenses here, because you're not going to be able to look for one read and then just run for a first down or 20 yards or 70 yards. Like, you're going to get cremated. But I mean, I thought Harburg looked really, really good. Our defense, that defense, it makes my pants excited. Like, I like our defense a lot this year. Like, we're really sharp. But we came out of that game. We lost two running backs. Let's see what else. 2 running backs are done for the year. One of our freshmen is done for the year. So like our backfield took a huge, huge hit with losing Ramir Johnson and Gabe Irvin. So now it'll be on Anthony Grant to carry the load, and which he's got all the talent in the world to do, but he's got to have ball security. Because if he doesn't have ball security and he starts putting it on the carpet, we are screwed. Because I think Emmett Johnson is the backup, is RB2, and the 2 years I think he's been in Nebraska, he hasn't seen the field at all, but like special teams, like kick return and stuff. So hopefully he's had a good week of practice and he's picked up, on protections and reads and everything else. And then they're trying to figure out, they still hadn't figured out who the starting quarterback is going to be. If it's going to be Jeff Sims or if it's going to be Harburg. Today you'll probably see a little bit of Jeff Sims, and then you'll go to Harburg because it's so tough. Everyone I listen to is like, well, what do we do with Jeff Sims? Do we just keep sending him out there and hoping he gets it right? My opinion is we kind of know what he is, and you're asking to put, what is it? Spots on a pig and call it a horse. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you already know what you're getting. Like, we've seen it. You know what I mean? We see the turnovers. We see all that. So it's like, I'd rather ride with Harburg and see what he can do. just see what the Nebraska kid can do and go from there. I mean, Jeff Sims, if you send him out there today and he throws a pick or he drops a snap or something, they're going to crucify him in Memorial Stadium. I mean, they're going to have to bring him out under the tunnel out of the stadium. And then you're going to put Harburg in there. And then it's lost completely. If you just put Harburg out there, let Jeff get healthy. And then, I know Harburg he's going to have 2 games against 2 lesser opponents. And then you got to really figure out what we're going to do against Michigan. But I give the fans what they want, I think, and put Harburg out there.
Is there any debate in Nebraska, in the Nebraska world, that Sims is QB2? I mean, like, it feels like everyone is like, yeah, Harburg's the guy to go. So, like, is there a debate, or is the coaching being stubborn? Like, why is this fear of Sims coming back? Like, it sounds like it's a pretty easy decision. Like, it was lesser opponents, but what
scares me is it's like it's lately what these Nebraska coaches been doing, and I it might go to just depth, but I think our depth and talent is not as bad anymore. But like Scott Frost, he attached his wagon to Adrian Martinez for the whole time, and that just and Adrian had his moments, but that just tells me that our backup QBs just weren't there. But this year, like, Jeff Sims was Matt Rule and Satterfield's guy. Like, that's the transfer portal quarterback they went and got to bring into Lincoln. And they don't just want to give up on him, but like, you got to think, like, Matt Rule talks, he got his staples and his pillars, right? And he put Anthony Grant on the sideline for a whole game for fumbling issues. But then when his quarterback plays like Dookie, the only reason he doesn't play last week is because he's hurt with the ankle. You know what I mean? Like, what does that tell the team? If you bench your starting running back because he has ball security issues, and then you don't do that with your quarterback, and then you take the easy way out in a sense, and you don't play him because he's got an ankle sprain, it's like, what kind of message are you sending to everybody on that? Like, I don't know. I mean, at this point, you could run both of the quarterbacks out there and just do some kind of gadget stuff. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Nebraska's run 2 quarterbacks. I know, I hate it too, but I mean, damn, Harburg came out, he was totally willing to play any position on the offense this year if he wasn't going to play quarterback. So, the kid will play. Jeff, I don't know. I don't know how to feel. Like I said, our defense is really good. It'll be interesting to see what our running backs do, because our running backs our room got depleted. We're like I said, we're Anthony Grant, we're Emmett Johnson, we're a true freshman, and then we're walk-ons after that. So our depth is not there at running back. Our offensive line has to get better.
Are they young?
No, we've got our centers transfer from Arizona State, and he's pretty good. Our tackles, our left tackle is straight doo-doo. I mean, he's not a tackle. He's a guard. But the poor kid's been playing since he's a freshman. He's been thrown out there. He's one of the highest Nebraska recruits in Nebraska history. Highest rating recruits. So the kid has just been crucified since coming in, and he had to play as a freshman, but I don't think he's a tackle. And you'll hear everyone in Lincoln say he's not a tackle, but he has to play tackle because we have no depth at tackle. Like, that's our best option we got. And, so it'll just be interesting to see. I hope Teddy Prohaska plays. That man is 7 foot tall, 300 plus pounds. He's so big, he can't stay healthy. He has lower body issues. And, when you're that tall, you walk funny and your shit's going to be broken. So if he can come back healthy, and we can get that offensive line good, or we can get it where we need to be, I think we'll make a push for the West. I really do. I mean, it's just interesting. It's just interesting to see what our offense is going to do, because I trust our defense.
Wait, you don't think you're going to make a push for the West this year?
No, I do. We're gonna beat.
You have the best. No.
We're gonna beat La Tech, and then it's Michigan will be but I'm like Michigan State. Not worried about them anymore.
No, you'll beat Michigan State.
Wisconsin, okay, if we can stop the run, we stopped the run this year, boys. We're in the top country, in the top 5 in stopping the run. I mean,
What
yeah,
other
Braylon
teams?
Allen gives me nightmares because of what he's done to us in the past. But our offense, if we can get they made the comparison. If we can play Iowa football this year, we'll go far.
That's the right comparison. The only problem is that Iowa plays Iowa football.
I think
Iowa
realistically,
plays Iowa football better than.
I'm going to choose my boys to win, obviously, but I think your last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games of the season, I might actually have a real conversation of like, I think Nebraska could win these games, depending
Yeah.
on what they look like over the next couple weeks.
Yes, I agree.
I'm
It's going to
good.
come down to quarterback play. Now, I'm telling you, like it'll come back because our defense is just going to get better if we stay healthy and we start getting the young guys more involved in everything else. We run almost 22 people. It seems like out there on defense. It's just a turning machine, and at least up front it is, and that's what Tony White wants. But the offense is what scares me because. I've never liked Satterfield, and for Rule to make him our guy, like it is what it is. I mean, yeah, he had 2 good games against Clemson and Tennessee last year, but
Is Rule an offensive coach? Like, I guess I don't know his coaching history, but like, is he based in offense on his way up to head coach position? Did he do only?
No, it's weird with Rule. Like, I believe he can do all, but like he was a Penn State linebacker when he was in college. And then he got I want to say his development traits are the fat guys, offensive, defensive line. He's a trenches guy. And I think that's what got everybody super excited here but he can do, I think he's coached like a lot of the position groups. I don't think you can pin him as an offense or a defensive guy, which is kind of weird because usually you're one or the other, but he's very versatile in his places that he can develop. And he is a developer. I mean, I don't think he's, like Deion's a good CEO, right? You got coaches that are really great on one side of the ball, or you got really good developers. Rule is a developer. He brings in his coordinators and lets his coordinators coach, and then he goes and helps develop the kids in what they need to do. So, but yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with last week. Like I said, with Nebraska's performance. It'll see what we do with La Tech today at 2:30. But I mean, it'll come down to quarterback play, and we'll go from there.
Good segue into that. Nebraska minus 20.5 today. What are we taking, boys?
That's crazy because I took him at 17.
It's switched. It's switched down to 20.5. Looks like the betting has moved up on Nebraska. So
yeah,
I took Nebraska minus the 20.5.
No, that's what I'm taking
to cover that. Are you guys as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more thoughts on the Cornhuskers before we get to the rest of the games today?
A great analysis, great breakdown.
Yeah, no, that was good. And I love the part where I wish, I will dream for it, I'll pray for it at night that the Big Ten West comes down to the Iowa-Nebraska game at the end of the season. We will stream that game. It'll be the best thing ever. I think Michigan could go 0-5 their last 5 games, and I'd still love to watch that game. It would be great. Oh, man, especially having you two on here together. That would be a good one.
You almost will have to play mediator.
Oh, yeah, it would be great. I would cheer for turnovers on both sides.
I just had to figure out how to that damn Nebraska CU game took so much out of me trying to stream it and do this. And it is, it is kind of exhausting to I loved it. I mean, it was great. I can't wait for us to do more of those, but being on the receiving side of it.
I mean, guys do that. The big boys that stream the live games, they're doing it starting Thursday. They stream that game for NFL games, and then they run all through the weekend. And it's just like, kudos to you guys, because I was drained after Saturday. I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing it as a job and you're getting paid enough money to warrant it, then yeah, sure, I'll sit here and watch football all day and record myself doing it.
Well,
But it's
and
something
those
later down into the future. Cool. So that's the first game of the week. I think we should save some of the better games to talk about last. Let's talk about some of the games that should not be as close. The next longest spread is Rutgers at Michigan. Right now it's Michigan minus 24. I'm actually going to take Rutgers to cover the 24. I just don't think we've shown enough in the first 3 games that we can be blowing opponents out as much. Now, I say that we'll probably win by 40, and that's just how they do it. But
And you guys haven't covered all year, right?
no, not at all.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to take Rutgers to cover that. They've actually put up quite a few amount of points in their first 3 games. We're obviously going to be the best defense they've played this year. I don't think they'll put up 30 on us, but I think they'll put up enough that even if we win, it's going to be I think they'll cover the spread. So I'm picking Rutgers plus the 24, obviously Michigan to win the game.
Yep.
You guys taking similar, or are you going?
No, I'm taking the same thing. I'm taking Rutgers, the points, and Michigan to win.
Corey?
I'm going to take Michigan
to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Corey's taking Michigan minus the 20.
I think JJ's going to come out after having a horrible week.
We do get Harbaugh back.
And I think they're going to ball out. And I think they have to, because Ohio State put 63 points up last week. So in order to keep up with that type of mentality, I think you just got to beat down.
So do you think they need to ball out for the appearances then?
Well, and JJ has to ball out because he had a horrible week last week. And
he threw a couple of touchdowns still, but those interceptions were mistakes that he did not need to make. So
at least 4 touchdowns thrown by
he definitely needs a little bit of redemption today, that's for sure. Okay, next we have Akron. This is probably the least interesting game of the slate. Akron at Indiana. Indiana minus 16.5. I don't even trust them to cover that, really. I have no idea. Akron's 1-2. They lost to Kentucky last week, 30-35. They lost to Temple, and then they beat Morgan State. So
how much they beat Morgan State by, do you know?
I can check here, but even then, do you even know where Morgan State's at? Because I don't.
I think Pennsylvania, right? Or
is it? I'm not sure. No. They beat Morgan State by 3 points, 24-21. So I'll probably take.
Where's John Hopkins at? Isn't Morgan State? Well, that could be.
Is it near John Hopkins?
Let's not get distracted by Morgan State.
I'm probably going to take Indiana minus the 16.5.
Baltimore. They're in Baltimore.
Okay. See, yeah, I would have failed that Jeopardy question. Indiana minus 16.5 at home against Akron. What are you guys taking?
Fake.
I'm going to take Indiana to cover it, but I don't feel good about it.
No,
points.
Can we play alternate spread on this game? Like, I don't like that is give me Indiana by 3. Ugh.
Yeah. So you just want to take Akron to cover then?
No. No. I'll take Indy.
Howard. Here, you know what? What got me behind last week was trust in the Big Ten. And so now the Big Ten has just shown me a horrible cross-conference play, so I'm just not taking the Big Ten.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. So Corey's taking Akron. Chris and I are taking Indiana to cover. I'm assuming you're taking Indiana to at least win the game, Corey?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll put Indiana money line in. Okay. The next least interesting game, Florida Atlantic at Illinois. Illinois is favored by 16 points. Florida Atlantic is 1-2 coming into this game. Their most recent loss was a 34-point loss to Clemson last week. Illinois, obviously coming off that horrible game against Penn State, lost against Kansas. Their only win is against Toledo by 2 points at the beginning of the year. So this is the same thing for Indiana for me. I'm just going to take the Big Ten team at home to cover the spread. I don't think FAU is that good. If this was basketball, I'd pick FAU to win the game, but it's not, unfortunately. So
in Florida Atlantic, they lost their quarterback. Wasn't that Casey Thompson?
Was it last week that they lost him, or was it last year?
No, last week he tore his ACL.
Oh,
I think Casey went to FAU, didn't he?
I'm not 100% on that.
Let me look real quick.
Check that out. Corey, you have a pick while he's checking that out?
Well,
You gonna go Big Ten, or you gonna just pick against?
Yeah, he played for Florida Atlantic. So
I'll go
Florida
Big Ten.
Atlantic is
I'll go Big
They
running.
lost their quarterback then. Okay. So I'm assuming that's a unanimous Illinois for the three of us then, huh?
Ugh, yeah.
Illinois minus 16. You know, if this was last year, Illinois minus 16 would be a steal.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not. So, okay, this one we have do have a Big Ten matchup. Minnesota at Northwestern. Minnesota minus 11.
Yeah, give it to me.
I think I'm going to take Minnesota to cover that spread as well.
Yep, me too.
All of us.
Yep. Minnesota.
All right, Minnesota minus 11, and I'll just put all three of us. Okay, now we're getting into some of the interesting games of the week. We're going to save your boys for just a minute. We have one more here. Maryland at Michigan State. Maryland is only favored by 7.5. I think I'm going to take Maryland to easily cover that spread.
Oh, guaranteed. They're gonna beat them by 21. So,
Yeah, I don't trust Michigan State at all, especially after what I saw last week. So I'm going to take Maryland. Corey?
What was it again?
Maryland minus 7.5 in Michigan State. It's the Spartans' home.
oh, it's in Sparty.
Yeah, it's in
I
Spartan
want to take
territory.
Michigan State.
To win?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To win.
Yeah, I think D'Antonio showed up and said, "Listen, boys, we're going to calm the storm, right the ship. We're going to play fundamental, basic football like we were taught when we were kids." And I think Michigan State is got talent. I think they can. I think they can win this
I
game.
don't know how you said that with a straight face. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on. So I want to do this game first. I wanted to save it for last, but I think the other game is just better and just overall for viewer ratings.
Oh.
Iowa at Penn State. We'll do that one first. Iowa is ranked 24th. What did I have them? Do you guys remember what I had them in my recent?
22, I think you.
So I have them I'm a little higher on the Hawkeyes than the AP voters are, huh?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
at Penn State 7th. I don't think I'm even as high on Penn State as AP voters. I have Penn State 11th, and I have Iowa 17th, Corey.
Oh, that's right.
So, but Iowa, Penn State is favored by 14. You are in Nittany Lion territory, Sandusky's territory, if you will. And let's talk about this game. What do you guys think? What does Iowa have to do to win this game?
All right, Iowa's got a couple issues. First of all, we lost our NFL tight end. Luke Lachey is out for the season. That's a huge loss for Iowa. So that's rough. And it's not rough for the reasons you're thinking. A lot of people think of offensive receptions by Luke Lachey. While those are huge, almost plays to our benefit that he's not in the field. The problem is going to be blocking. Are we going to be able to pass protect Cade for enough time to get our little out routes and tight end sprints and all that stuff open? And are we going to make them pay for rushing us by being able to run the ball? So, you're going to have to run the ball against Penn State using a lot of draws. This hiking under center, snapping the ball under center, it's going to be iffy. So Iowa won't have a lot of time to throw the ball. If, however, Iowa can make those adjustments on offense, I think our defense is built against Penn State. They're built. And to say that Penn State could go 14.5 plus on us is just a slap. It's a
just
slap.
14. Just 14 right now.
Just 14.
So that means people have been betting in Iowa's favor.
Yeah, because everyone knows you're not going to do that against Iowa's defense. It's not going to happen this year. Our offense is not that sterilized
Anemic.
here. Yeah, it's not as bad this year. So fuck you, Vegas. This is a trap bet they're making everyone make here. And pick Iowa for the win. Big.
You're picking Iowa to upset Penn State.
Yeah, by like
straight up
a field goal.
All right, Corey, Iowa win. Chris, what do you think about this game?
I'm taking Penn State to win, Iowa points.
It's fair. Safe bet, coward.
Yeah. I'm not letting Shane get too far ahead of me on this. Like, I rode with shitbag Minnesota last week, and I think that was really the split the fine hairs between us there. So,
Well, we have a whole season. That's why I think it's fun to keep a running tally, right? Which is why I'm also going different. Penn State to cover the 14.
What?
Mm.
I'm Nittany Lion White today, Corey. I think Penn State covers the 14. I think Cade is still rusty. I love Iowa's defense. Obviously, like you said, I don't think they are as good as last year. I think Penn State's offense was better than they were last year. I think it'll be a close game. When I say close game, I think Penn State will maintain a lead after the first half, and I think they might just kind of wear you down a little bit. It's really going to come to me
It's possible
for mistakes. If Iowa makes mistakes, Penn State can easily run away with this game, similar to the Ohio State game last year. I think if Iowa now you don't have that shit show of a quarterback you had last year, so I don't think you will make as many of those mistakes. I just think it's going to be one of those things where if you do make an unfortunate blocked field goal, a punt return, anything that is out of the ordinary besides a normal drive for Penn State, I think that'll just kind of tip it over into the edge. And your offense right now, it could be with Cade, but right now it's not built for a race of offensive. Like you can't. It's similar to how we talked about with the Colorado-Nebraska game. If it gets into a touchdown, Penn State will win that battle. And I think that, the first team to get a stop is the one that runs away with it. They're tough at home, man. Is this going to be a whiteout? It's at 5:30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we streaming? Is this one of the ones we're streaming or no?
I'm streaming it. Yeah. I hope if you guys want to join, you're more than absolutely can.
I will be able to. Yeah. So it's 5:30 my time. I get off work at 6. I'm technically.
You can always hop in after.
I can always hop in.
How the game's going. If I was just
first
blown
quarter.
out.
I think in the first half it'll be close. I think if my prediction were to come true, if Penn State actually does cover the 14 or 14 or more, I think it's going to be like a third or fourth quarter thing. I don't think they're going to be just up on you guys by 14. Now, if that's the case, if they somehow get up on you guys by 2 scores and Iowa changes their offensive plan to try to keep up, similar to what I was saying, I don't think it's going to work for them. I think they'll just go backwards. They'll go backwards. Now, if you guys can establish a run and you can get Cade, like you said, a little bit of time in the pocket, I think this will be a great game. Like you said, your offense is built for this. How do you think Iowa handles? I mean, obviously, you guys play Little Brother every year, and that's a big game for them. But going into Pennsylvania, playing this whiteout crowd, how do you think you guys will actually handle that today?
Well, it's nothing new for our quarterback. He's used to big game situation, loud crowds, and that's
what you really have to rely on is the experience and seasoning of Cade. Even though he's not healthy or not fully got the rust off, you have a quarterback that's been there, done that. He's played with the big boys in the East, so he knows what to do.
And Iowa football is not ever been afraid of Penn State because they made it a very early goal early on because Ferentz had some beef back over there. And so he made it a point to always play Penn State better. And we won a lot of games in the early Ferentz eras against Penn State. So, and then Penn State, they've had some good teams. I think this year is a good team. I don't think they deserve to be number 7. And there's an interesting stat about Iowa football right now. Last 2 games, which would be the Iowa State game and the Western Michigan game, they've had a total of 1 penalty for 5 yards.
Wow.
That's even if you're playing
really
small, that's really good. That's really good. So they are so they may not be the best O-line, but they are a disciplined O-line. And I'd much rather take a disciplined O-line than anything else. It's going to come down to, like you said, I think we're going to have to spread the field for sure. I don't think we're going to be able to run our power formation, tight eye, offset eye, formations against this team. We're going to have to spread them out and then attack, mano up the field and hope that
first quarter has to be tight. I think you punched them in the mouth in the first quarter. Like
Well,
I don't think you spread them out right off the bat. You can't.
Iowa's defense has had issues in the first quarter. Not the first quarter, the first 2 drives. They've had some issues with broken down coverage in the secondary. And that's a big deal because if you're going to score on Iowa, it's going to have to be from the 50-yard line. It's going to have to be from the 40-yard line. But once you get within the red zone, the 20 yards and under, it's very difficult to score. And so you need your secondary to be communicating correctly on some of these deep routes that Iowa's, what they got burnt on in Western Michigan, that first drive by Western Michigan, that's just a breakdown of communication. And I've seen that in all games. The secondary, not that they're not good, it's not like they can't keep up with the kids. It's like there's confusion sometimes back there. And I know I guess I don't know much about Penn State's strategy this year. Is it mostly reliant on their run game or on their passing threat?
That quarterback they have is really sharp.
Penn State has a good mix. Last week they put up 30 points against Illinois and they didn't have a single passing touchdown. So they mainly did it on the ground. They did it with their defense. They didn't do a lot. They beat Delaware 63-7. 63 points, and they only had 2 passing touchdowns. And they were actually by different quarterbacks. So that means when they took their starter out, they decided to put a backup in, and he threw for a passing touchdown. And then in week 1, they beat West Virginia 38-15, and they had 3 passing touchdowns. So I think Penn State has shown that they can do it either way, and that they're willing to play dependent on how their opponent will allow them to play. I think they have the offensive weapons to do that. Like they don't have to just run the ball. Similar to like last year with Michigan, our pass game was not that great. So if you stopped our run, we really struggled against you, and we had to really push that. I don't think Penn State has that same holdback this year. I think that if you're going to give them the pass, they're going to fucking pass it on you.
Well, and I almost
they're going to run it down your throat. You have to stop them both sides.
Well, and that comes down to our D line. We have to have pressure from 4 men.
Well, and I know you
4 men have got to show up.
Yeah, and I know you've always been a big advocate of if you win the trenches, you can win the game.
Yeah.
And I think this game, let me put it this way: if you guys keep Penn State under 20, maybe 24 points, I think you win the game. If you let them score in the 30s, you lose.
Yep, that's fair.
I think that's how it's going to be. I think that's going to be the game for Iowa. Is just like bend don't break. If you allow 4 or 5 field goals instead of 3 or 4 touchdowns, then that's going to be the big difference there. And I think how you guys win the game. But I'm actually excited for that game. It's going to be a good one.
It's our only big game of this year. There's
you play Nebraska at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's always going to be a big game.
Nebraska's not. I mean, by national standards, obviously, as a Big Ten fan, you know that every game is the biggest game of the year because it's Big Ten football and it's crazy. But when it comes to national coverage, Iowa, it's our biggest game of the year.
I get
we
that.
Have to beat Penn State if we want any recognition if we win the West. Otherwise, if we win the West and lose to Penn State, we're not going to get any credibility.
If you do beat Penn State here, can you guys cover for me for just a second? I'll be right back.
Yep, you're good.
You gotta be like Bruce Lee. You gotta be like water. Great teams can adapt, like what Shane was saying. You like great teams, and that's one of the things that Matt Rule said when he got hired, and I think that's everybody's real belief is your offense has to be like water. It has to adapt to the surroundings, to the team that you're playing, to the defense that you're facing. You got to be able to run the ball if their secondary is stingy, if their front 7 is weak, you run the ball. If that back half, you know what I mean? You got to be able to run and pass the ball really good. Iowa's got really great special teams. Their offense, if this game turns out to be
top 80 right now,
yeah.
There's things I've seen this season that I didn't see last year, and that was mixing up calls throughout the game. which was nice to see. Like in Western Michigan, there was adjustment. Iowa State, most notably in my mind, where the adjustment happened. And so, like, we went from trying to play our style of football to playing our style of football as a Kansas City shuffle, as a guise to create other plays. And so I think that I don't know, man. Like
I trust your defensive coordinator too much to even with your secondary issues. That defense coordinator that Iowa has,
Norm Parker.
Yeah, Parker. Yeah, like I mean, he's not one of the. He's not always, or he is regarded as a top defensive coordinator in the Big Ten year in and year out
in the nation.
In the nation, but definitely in the Big Ten. So like, in that I trust. Franklin. Yeah, this team might be different from the past, but Penn State usually always finds a way to
and there's
down their legs.
There's beef between Franklin and Ferentz too, and I don't know if you remember this, but a couple years ago when we played Penn State and we're beating them, won that game, they kept flopping players to stop the clock.
No.
Did you remember? And Ferentz said something about it, and then Franklin got all raw. So this will be a meeting. This will be a return to these two guys too. And Ferentz is very, he's very motivated by grudges. That's in his personality. So
it all comes down to Brian, which I hate it, but
not good.
I fucking, but I just
Iowa needs to create at least 14 points off of turnovers. And that's not like saying pick sixes, but that's saying like setting up your offense with 20 yards to go. Like they need to create some points on this game if I was going to win for sure.
Yeah, and when, like I said,
Iowa's got
special teams is always good. So you have Torrey Taylor back there, punt them inside the 10 or the 5, let your defense work, get the ball back by midfield. If you get 3 points, if you keep building your 3 points and your defense doesn't break wide open like a hooker on dollar night, you'll be okay. Like it'll be okay.
I expect there to be trading of field goals for the first quarter.
Yeah. Like I said, you know that first quarter, don't go hash to hash. Take that first quarter and just take as much possession as you can off that clock. Play old Iowa football, and then if they, if you do have to punt it your first 2 possessions and they end up scoring, then we readjust. But
we need to play field position first.
Yes.
Don't expect our offense to come out there and score 20 points that first quarter. It's going to be, we're going to feel you out. We want to see how our O-line matches up against your D-line. So we're going to, run right at it and see where the weak points are. And then we're going to punt the ball and let our defense run for a while. And then we're going to come back and do the exact same thing, but with a little twist on it. So it's, I think if Iowa can get Penn State to get down in the trenches with them and get dirty, Iowa always has a chance winning those games.
All right, guys. I think this is the game of the week, this last one that we're going to talk about here. Number 6, Ohio State at number 9, Notre Dame. I have Ohio State actually ranked 4th and Notre Dame ranked 8th. So I have both of those teams ranked higher than the AP poll has them ranked. And I'm gonna go on a little AP poll rant here in just a minute on why my rankings are so much better than their garbage fucking rankings in just a minute. But after, I do want to talk about this last Big Ten game. Ohio State is favored by 3, and they are the away team. They're playing in Notre Dame. If you guys remember, I think it was last year they lost to Notre Dame at the beginning of the season. I think it was the first game of the season.
Yeah.
I actually have Ohio State winning and covering the 3 points. I think Ohio State will win this game. I think Notre Dame's a really good team. I think Ohio State has shown that they had a weird game against Indiana at the beginning of the year where they only won by 20, but Indiana still only put up 3. Their defense has played really well the first 3 games of the season. Their offense has started to come alive now that they've gotten Harrison Jr. involved more in the games. Their new quarterback is looking pretty solid, and
he's comfortable now.
Mm-hmm.
That's he has the confidence. He's not looking over his shoulder anymore. Like he's he's confident, but fuck Ohio State. Notre Dame by 3. Notre Dame for the win.
You think Notre Dame's covering the 3?
Yep.
All right, Corey.
Um,
Good morning to Jake saying good morning to us.
I'm gonna have to say, there's a lot of hype going on for Notre Dame to win this game.
Well,
Sam
so
Hartman's
if you-
45 years old and has been in college for 12 years. So I'm
if you
taking Sam.
remember last year, Notre Dame had those weird. I think they lost to Stanford in the middle of the year, and then they went on that incredible run. And you had all these people saying they should have a shot at the playoffs, but then you lost to Stanford, so you obviously lost that shot as soon as you lost to them. But and I think they beat Ohio State at the beginning of the year, so they had a great.
Beginning of the year football games, though, never really count in my book. Because
No, but what I'm saying is at the end of last year, they had an incredible run, and they looked like a great team, and they actually looked like they could have competed if they hadn't messed up their, which is also why the new playoffs is going to be so much better, I think, moving away from this. If you lose a silly game at the beginning of the year when your team's not fully developed versus you go on a 10-game win streak, but because of a game you lost 11 weeks ago, you now have zero shot. I think it'll be better. But anyway, I think Notre Dame is good. They're 4-0. They're at home. They're
See, my thing is you, and this is interesting about Michigan fans, but Michigan fans secretly root for Ohio State when they're not playing Michigan because
root for them. I want Notre Dame to win the game. Trust me, I want Notre Dame to win the game.
No, see,
I just think Ohio State is the better team. I think they'll beat them. I think they'll cover the 3.
They secretly root for Ohio State because they want Ohio State to be undefeated when they beat them.
Yeah,
that's that's the vitriol between those two guys. They want them to succeed so that looks better when they stop. So I'm not sure I believe in your pick here, Shane. That's why I'm like, man, I don't, because you're pretty solid on your picks. I'll give you that, but I mean.
10-2 is pretty good last week, Corey.
It's not bad.
We're all 1-0 right now. We all picked the Wisconsin game correctly last night.
Yeah.
So we all picked that game correctly.
I mean, you think Notre Dame was good last year. They're even better this year with a legit quarterback. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, I have no doubts. I think this is Notre Dame's only loss of the season.
I'm going to pick
this
Notre Dame.
You're going to pick
Notre Dame to win outright?
It's at
Ohio
Notre
State's
Dame
third
too,
loss of the season.
Wait. Before you put it down, is it at Notre Dame or is it at Ohio State?
It's in Notre Dame.
It's in Touchdown Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
God's going to be there on that field tonight, gentlemen. Or is it this afternoon? Is it an afternoon game?
It's the same time as the Iowa game. So we'll be able to swap back and forth games if you guys would like to kind of look at both those at the same time, if you guys do want to stream those. So that's all the Big Ten games. There are some other good games today, though, that I wanted to just mention. We don't have to pick them. So number 4, Florida State at Clemson. We'll see if Clemson can get any redemption with their earlier loss in the season, and then maybe they can get back into the ranked conversation.
Florida State by 3.
Yeah, I think Florida State wins it too, but they're only favored by 2 points. They're in an away game, ACC matchup. I think that's going to be a tough one. Then we have, I would love to see Alabama lose again at home. We have Ole Miss at Alabama.
Give me Ole Miss by
15th,
7.
Alabama's 13th. Alabama's favored by a touchdown. We have future Big Ten school here. We have UCLA at Utah.
I saw this. Yeah, that's big.
Utah is favored by 3.5. I think that'll be a good game. I think it'll be a high-scoring game.
You think? I took the under on this one.
Did you?
Yeah, in my parlay that I put together.
What was the over/under? Do you remember?
I think it's 52.5.
52.5.
Something. I think
Utah's got their quarterback back, right?
Yeah, but I think Utah is just gonna. I mean, I don't know. I see it being just keep punching them in the mouth. I think it's going to be a possession game.
I can see it that way too. I think I would just by instinct with the way that they've played the last couple years go over, but yeah, I could see it going that way too. Then I think here, the only other game I really want to mention specifically is I think it's up there for game of the week. I just think the Ohio State Notre Dame's bigger nationally, but Oregon State at Washington State, I think that's a great game. They're both undefeated 3-0 teams. They're both recently good teams. Oregon State wasn't really good until last year. and then they've carried that into this year, being ranked coming into the season. And then Washington State, nobody thought they would be that great until they beat up on Wisconsin. They won handily last week. It's in Washington State. They're Oregon State's favored by 3. I would probably go with the Beavers myself, but I think that's actually a great.
It's in Pullman though. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's
And
a 2:30 game, right?
Yeah, and I love that
Sorry?
story just because it's the 2 Pac-12 teams left. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
the
And
two,
and
the
they're
two little
really,
guys.
and it's funny, and it's almost like they're making a point of like, why did nobody take us? We're ranked, we're up here with everyone else. Screw you guys. You should have taken us with you. So yeah, I thought those were the other big games of the week. And there's a couple other ranked teams playing, but they're all favored to win by a handily amount of points. So I didn't think they're worth mentioning. The rant that I wanted to go on. This is ridiculous. This is why the AP poll is stupid. I hate their ranking systems. I hate their voting systems. So we have last week, if you guys remember, Florida played Tennessee. Florida beat the crap out of Tennessee. They beat them 29-16. They're both 2-1 teams. Florida's only loss was to Utah, who is ranked 11th currently in the AP poll. So Florida loses to the 11th ranked team at the beginning of the season. They then go on to beat, or Utah was maybe ranked a little lower than that at the time. They then go on to beat Tennessee, who was 11th last week. So Tennessee was ranked 11th. They lost to Florida by 13 points. Tennessee's only losses to Florida. Florida's only losses to Utah, who's ranked really high. Somehow Tennessee is still ranked higher than Florida. Explain that to me. How does that make any sense? Tennessee is ranked 23rd. Florida's ranked 25th, even though Florida just beat Tennessee by 13 points, and their only loss is to Utah, who is ranked extremely high in the AP poll. It makes zero sense to me. I don't understand that whatsoever when I was looking at those rankings.
And that's the coaches poll?
I'm sorry.
AP.
No, that's the actual AP poll. Tennessee is ranked 23rd currently. Florida is currently ranked 25th. And
I think they do it by the body of work. They just do by the flash and dash. Like if you think like Florida.
So here's the way I look at it too. So Tennessee's only wins are against Austin, PA, and Virginia.
Austin P.
Florida has beat Tennessee, which would be technically, according to the AP poll, that they beat the 11th ranked team. That would be one of the biggest wins of the year already. But they only give Florida the nod at 25th because their only loss is to another top 10 team, which just doesn't make any sense to me. So
yeah, but Utah doesn't get a lot of love as it is. So
so it's almost like they're diminishing. They're making the Utah loss seem worse. But Utah is currently ranked 11th, so it's like your only loss.
And Utah's been doing this with a backup.
Yeah, well, if you remember that one game, we all thought they were going to lose, and then we checked the score, and they won by like 10 points. So I was like, how the heck did that happen? So yeah, so I think we have a lot of good games. That was my silly little AP poll rant. I just don't like how they do that.
Nothing silly about it. I think you're discovering what millions, well, not millions, but a lot of people who get into this sports world have discovered is that it's deeply corrupt when it comes, because all that stuff has to do with market value. Tennessee's a huge market. You want them to stay somewhere around the top 25.
Which I dropped them out of mine. They're not even in mine. Florida's 20th in my poll, in my rankings. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and this is more for Chris, but Corey, please chime in. Is this the day that Deion Sanders gets humbled at Oregon?
Deion gets
favored by 21 points.
Yeah, I hope. I don't really trust Bo Nix a whole lot, but I hope Dan Lanning in Oregon just go up there and take that fucking duck bill and pop CU right in the face. Like I hope that just CU and I don't.
We will never hear the end of it if Colorado wins.
If they win,
It's for the rest of the year.
We will never hear the end of it if Colorado wins this game.
So many fake fucking CU fans out so far. It is just like, Boomer. What is it, Boomer Junior, whatever on Twitter? Corey,
the Oklahoma guy. Yeah.
Did you see that where they were like actual fans that root for the schools that went to the school? I was really surprised. Like Nebraska's up there at the lower end, CU's at the bottom with like 0.0001%. Like, I'm telling you, it's
Well,
it's
growing
the
up,
Dion effect or the primetime effect, and I get it, but it's just like, you know,
it's funny. I go through my Facebook feed because I've spent the last 20 years here in Colorado Springs, and just going through my Facebook feed, I see all these people that have they post about the Buffaloes constantly, and I'm like, I haven't seen you post in the last 15 years about this team. I don't know what the hell these posts are about.
yeah.
So it's a lot of that's
It
really
was no
funny.
different when Air Force had a good year a couple of years ago, and you saw it all around Colorado Springs. Little Air Force flags
And at
flying.
least the Air Force Academy is here, and then
Yeah.
people probably have some sort of association.
There's
like,
more loyalty to Air
like,
Force than
yeah.
CU.
Well,
I
like even
think.
like my stepmom, she
I know, I
taught
saw
for the
people.
Air Force Academy, so it's like I cheer for Air Force whenever they play whoever the garbage other teams they play,
New
But
Mexico State.
yeah,
No,
I don't, if
They
they're
were on
playing, like,
TV last night.
State,
Yeah, they
like
were.
for
Yeah.
sure, like I'll cheer for them just for the fact that my stepmom worked at the academy, but I don't
I
so
wired
do
his
have an
house.
appreciation. But if they ever
Wired-
played Michigan, I would be like, yeah, we're gonna beat their brains in. What are you talking about? So yeah, that I don't know. It's just funny to see. I think they're gonna get humbled a little bit today. I know Travis Hunter is out for 3 weeks. He's
Yeah.
not going to play. Shador Sanders, as they say, is leading the Heisman race. He still might have a great game. I just don't think their defense holds up to Oregon's offense. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think Oregon, especially playing in Oregon, I think they're going to win the game.
I think Colorado's going to win it.
I think they're going to cover the 21-point. Jesus, dude, are we about to add this game to our list right now? Oregon is a future Big Ten team. Do you want to add this one to the list, Corey?
I mean, weren't we gonna do like the crazy?
Oh, do you guys want to do
Did
one
you find
crazy?
that or no?
Like one crazy stat. Well, no, I got sidetracked because I figured out how you could bet on politics.
So what we could do every week is we could each pick one crazy upset. We don't have to put it towards our statistics or whatever.
Right.
We just each pick a crazy upset, and then if it comes true, we can clip it and play it on the next episode.
I think
yours could be Colorado over Oregon because that's a 21-point difference. I think that's a fair enough upset.
What's the over under on that game? Just
70.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm taking the over. The only thing I'm touching on that game is the over. But I'm secretly hoping Oregon just dog womps the shit out of CU. I mean,
yeah, that would be a rough one.
Shador's going to go poke people in the eyes. It's just going to be great football.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a good game. And actually, if I had to pick my upset of the day, I think I'd pick Arkansas to beat LSU in Louisiana State. I think I would take Arkansas to win the Razorbacks.
I'm going to take Colorado.
17.5-point underdogs. I think that's a decent enough for an upset. Yeah, I think. I don't know, man. I think Oregon's gonna win the game. I don't see Colorado.
It's that primetime effect, man.
Man, if he wins, and what sucks too is because I'm a Dallas fan. You kind of want to go like, yeah, primetime, but.
You heard that Warren Sapp is going to join the staff next year, right?
Defensive coordinator.
Dude, do you see all the people?
coach, I thought, or is he going to be D coordinator?
Yeah, D-line
coach. Really, D-line coach. Do you see all the people that show up, like the rappers and the famous people that show up to their
BET Awards. It's BET Awards. That's what it is. It's yeah.
BET Awards.
It's what it is.
My God. Oh,
that's hilarious. I mean, I get it. They're making all this money. Not great for them, but it's Boulder.
Well, this is what they did.
Washy, nose in the air.
This is what they did in Atlanta when Dion was in Atlanta. They brought in the big names, the huge superstars, had them walk on the sidelines, and it added an element of like, I don't want to lose in front of this guy who's walking and so it's like this weird motivating factor. Plus it creates an energy, and that's really, you watch Colorado play and they are at 100% all of the time. There is high energy on that team. When it's their turn to be on the field, they're working their butts off. And I think the media coverage of Colorado is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But behind the scenes, I think you have a solid coaching core. You have brought in a hand-picked team. You know, everyone knows the rules. Everyone's on the same page. I think Colorado's a really good team, and people don't want to admit it. They want to see that, you know, how often, you know, like the Nebraska game. Nebraska's not a bad team, and it took them a minute to wear down Nebraska. Now, the Colorado State game, like I give like in-state rivalry games and all that,
that's different juice.
It's different.
So, let me ask you this. Nebraska never starts Jeff Sims in that game. What's the final score? Do they lose the same amount?
No, they don't. I think it's a lot closer.
Yeah. Yeah, because you take the turnovers and stuff away. Even if Harburg was, you know, that's who we went with is Harburg versus CU. You know, like the offense would have probably been, you know, more fit to his skill set. But I don't think the turnovers. I don't think if we eliminate those, like I said, we had a chance. We would have probably won that game.
They were a powerful offense.
But I mean, the turnovers, every time we turned the ball over, our defense went back on the field. We had a short field to defend. It was just, you know,
Four turnovers is a lot to overcome.
It was just too much, you know, like you limit you get rid of the turnovers, and that game is, you know.
But they created those turnovers as well. You know what I mean? Like at least two of them were straight up Colorado. You know, maybe one.
Honestly, well, the Jeff Sims interception was just a bad throw. They fumbled on the first. He fumbled twice by just not being able to handle the ball. There was one fumble that I think they recovered where they snapped it into their own motion man.
Yep.
And I forget what the fourth turnover was, but three of the turnovers I think were just complete mishaps on the offense's part, and Colorado had nothing to do with it. They would have had those turnovers no matter what team they play. They just couldn't handle Sims specifically. Couldn't handle the ball.
I just don't think the Pac-10 is that good of a or 12, whatever it's called, is that good of a conference.
No, they're not going to be a conference soon.
This Colorado-Oregon matchup, they got to hype it up, but these are two not good teams.
You know,
like,
the Ducks,
great teams.
I don't know, man. The Ducks are good. Washington is obviously
Washington is my second favorite team right now.
They're going to win the Pac-12 this year, but I think the Ducks are good. I think Washington's good. I think Oregon State.
Washington's good because they play Big Ten football. That's what I'm saying. Like they've played.
I legitimately think the number 1 and 2 conferences are the SEC and the Big Ten. I think the Pac-12 is number 3. They have USC, which they have Caleb is probably going to be the number 1 draft pick next year. They have Washington. They have UCLA is showing that they're going to be pretty good again this year. Oregon State, Oregon, Washington State. I think they have 6, maybe 7 solid teams. And then on top of that, you have this random Colorado story that is
right now. The Pac-12 is the best probably conference right now this year.
Texas could beat up on any of those.
I think
no. I'm just saying, like the SEC has been shaky. Us Big Ten teams haven't really showed out all, you know, too good. The Pac-12 is. I think they're taking their cauliflower dick and smacking everybody with it. I mean,
I think if you take like the top 50% of any conference, the Pac-12 has the best top 50. Like their top 6 teams are better than the top 6. If you take the top 2, I would still take Big Ten, SEC over them. Maybe the Big 12 because Texas is looking really good and Oklahoma's just been kind of beating the shit out of everyone. But we don't really know how good they are. So I think I would take maybe, but if you took like I said, they have so much depth in that top 25 range, and I think those teams are legitimately good. They're just going to beat up on each other during the regular season, so we don't know what that conference is going to look like.
You made a great point. That actually, like if you look at the big picture, like depth wise, the Pac-12. But when you water it all the way or dry it out, however you want to look at it, and you pick the top 2 from each thing, I think the Pac-12, you know, doesn't stand a chance. But As a
But
whole, the
as a whole,
Pac-12 is
like if you took
sexy
our
right
top,
now.
if you took our top 6 Big Ten teams and you took their top 6 Big Ten teams,
Well, who are their top? Who
they-
are our top 6 Big Ten teams?
Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Iowa. Then you're getting into
Everybody else is a wash.
Wisconsin, maybe, and then
You have to, just because of the rank.
Wisconsin, and then you're going into fuck, dude. Who else? Who would you put in that next state? Rutgers? They're 3-0. Like, is that the next team? Is that really their 6th best team right now? You know, and I think, and then if you take the top 6 from the Big 12, you know, you're going Oregon, you're going USC, you're going
Northwestern.
you're going Oregon, you're going USC, you go Oregon State, you go Washington, you go probably
Oregon State.
Washington State. Oregon State, the Beavers are good, man. They're good. I think they're a great team. I have them ranked pretty high in mine. I know I bitched about the AP poll. I have them 14th in mine. Oh, and then dude, I haven't even mentioned Utah.
Yeah.
Utah's in that conversation as well. I think those teams. I think I would take, like, if you're their top 2, and with my rankings, their top 2 would be Washington and USC. If you put Washington and USC in either order against Ohio State and Michigan on a neutral ground, I think those would be close games. I really do think those would be close games. I think we would potentially go 1-1 in those games. And then the bottom 4 of those, you know, I think whoever the hell we picked at 6 is losing. Wisconsin's probably losing. They've already shown that Washington State can beat the shit out of them. So, you know, I think if you played that 6 versus 6, I think they might either win 4-2 or it's a 3-3 draw. And I really do think the Pac-12 is really good, which is ironic that their conference is crippling and they're not going to be a conference soon. But yeah,
better for us to take on those teams, you know. Like,
So we're getting Oregon, Washington,
UCLA,
and USC, right? Where's Utah going?
The Big 12.
Big 12. Washington State and Oregon State don't have a home yet.
No, they'll probably Mountain West will probably go to the Pac-12.
So I think they're a good conference. I think they are. I think one of those teams has the potential to be in the college football playoffs. It just depends on how much they beat up on each other during the regular season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I give it to CU. I mean, it shows the transfer portal. If you hit, it wins. I mean, the amount of money that they've made this year with the sellouts and the TV revenue and even what Prime's doing with his line of clothing and brand and everything, like he's put like, what was it, $90 million or something insane into that program. And 2 years ago, if you asked majority of college football fans where CU's located, who's going to tell you where? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's good on them, but I just wish it was like,
the question
anywhere else, you know, any fucking where else, you know, just with just the bandwagony, just shitbirds at CU. I can't do it. I just don't like it. I mean, I could be not a Nebraska fan and I'd be like, CU, ugh, you know what I mean? It's just,
the Colorado fans can be a little insufferable sometimes.
They think they're Alabama.
Just like any Colorado sport, they can be a little insufferable. It doesn't matter what sport they're in. If they're winning, you hear about it.
It's tough because I love the Avalanche and I like the Nuggets. You know, but like even if you go back to all those runs of those good teams in Colorado, it was not as insufferable as this fucking hype train CU is on right now. I mean, even when they were winning national championships, they didn't have this kind of steam coming out of there.
Soon we're going to get a primetime filter on our people's Snapchats. It's just going to have his shades on, you know, and a little chain that says primetime on it.
If this experiment works to a college football playoff berth, how many other colleges are going to hop on this bandwagon? Is USC going to try something like this? What
experiment are you talking about?
Say what?
Just like wiping it clean, bringing in
going into the transfer portal and completely rewiping the slate.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Is like, are you going to find someone that has that notoriety similar to prime time, bring them into your school, and then just, burn the whole thing to the ground and bring
There's
in
not
all
though.
transfer.
There's not another prime out there. If you really think about it, there's nobody.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no one of his caliber.
Who
that
you
can
gonna bring
recruit
in?
like
Tom
he can.
Brady? Tom Brady's never coached anything. Like you can't. Like if you think about it, Dion is like I said, he's a phenomenal CEO. But I'm literally thinking you couldn't even bring Tom Brady into Michigan and be like, hey, hire 2 phenomenal coordinators and see what kids you're gonna get in. Like it wouldn't have that same effect. Dion, other team, they're gonna try it. I guarantee you. Like the teams are going to try. I really do feel bad for the high school kids nowadays because it's almost you limit the high school kids you get because they need growth and development. But when you can go spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on these kids that have been in the college game for a couple years, they're already developed, already grown ass men, and you put them in the right system, that's going to just be the way that we are in college football. But I don't. Yeah, if you think about it, USC would probably be hotbed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of other places.
That's why I'm just thinking, like, USC is
I
not
just
going to
think that-
translate well to Big Ten football. So when they come over here, are they just going to be like, boom, drop everything, hire a new coach, and then?
No, they'll keep Lincoln Riley. I think they'll keep him. He's offensive. Lincoln Riley's only thing you can't knock him on is the way his offense plays. He's always been able to score points no matter where he's coached at.
We know that doesn't translate well to Big Ten.
Yeah, he just needs to change his defense. You can keep your offense the same. You just need to change your defense. He's got a potential. Did he win the Heisman last year, Caleb Williams? I think he did. So you have a Heisman winner. You have a potential future number 1 draft pick. He's always had good quarterbacks. Keep what you're doing offensively, and you might just have to restructure your defense a little bit. And it's like USC's not short of money. And now that we can pay players, and now that you're going to be in the Big Ten, and now you're going to have a pretty good monopoly on California with UCLA for the Big Ten players on that side of the country. I think they'll adjust. I think Washington has shown that they're going to be able to compete. And I think the teams will adjust to the Big Ten. It might take a year or two for some of them, but I think overall they will adjust. And then, it's going to be sad for teams like Northwestern who are just going to continuously be on the bottom of these fucking things. You're going to be ranked 20th at some point in a fucking league, but it's going to suck. But yeah,
hey, welcome Vanderbilt and those dumpster fires of teams that are
exactly
used to it. And they still sometimes strike lightning in a bottle. But
yeah, and I think the way what kind of like what you said, my last kind of thought, and then we can get out of here if you guys want. But my last thought I had was, I think the way with the transfer portal and the NIL is going to be the way that all college sports are going to work. I know Corey knows this, but I follow college basketball like a lot, like really, really closely. And it's much better. Any basketball podcast I listen to, it's always better to say, well, why don't we go for this mid-major player or this other player who was on a Power 5 team that was maybe now we can pay him more than that team can. He's established himself in college for 2 or 3 years. We know he's a good player, rather than try to get a freshman that we don't even know if he's going to hit or not. We'll get these 4 or 5 established 20-year-olds, 21, 22-year-olds, rather than going and getting this 18-year-old who's never played college basketball. And we know we have a good team. And last year in college basketball, those teams, you have like maybe 1 5-star freshman, and then the rest of your team is just grown men. Those teams strived way more than the teams that just went and got 4 or 5 freshmen and started them on the court. And I think it's the same for football. You're like, hey, you played for Western Michigan last year and you were the best player, on Western Michigan. Why don't you come on over to Michigan or Michigan State now, play with the big boys? We'll pay you some money and you get to play for a bigger school, and we know you're good. And I think that's going to be the way that this is. Transfer portal is going to be huge. NIL, if your school has money, you're going to succeed. And I think that's kind of the future we're headed.
Well, and I think you're going to start seeing sort of like a farming community crop up. Well, you already see it between colleges and smaller colleges, where coaching staff goes down to the you pretty much create a baseball effect where you have your freshmen go learn some basics, sort the good from the bad, and then you come in and you farm out of them. So you're gonna see a lot of farming establishments, I think, pop up.
And it really sucks for the lower major schools. It's like you can get a player who nobody thought was going to be great, and then after his 2 seasons, every school in the country is like, we want that guy to play for us. And then now you have big schools that are literally offering money that you can't offer this player because your school doesn't have the budget or the boosters to do that for, and you're just losing out on your best players. So in the future, I don't think we'll ever see really any mid-major teams. Kind of like, every once in a while you get like a Tulane or you guys remember when UTSA was randomly good 2 years ago?
Yeah.
You a lot of that, like, you might have it for 1 year, but the chances of you having that 2 years in a row are going to be super slim because all those good players are going to say, well, I'm going to go take money, and then they all have NFL dreams. Your dream's more likely to happen at a big power school than it is at one of these mid-major schools. So
that's why I think the whole relegating thing and putting it into make it like 2 big conferences where you do like the top 40, 50 programs financially and like, winning. You put them in a whole thing. You put everybody else in a whole thing. You let the smaller schools and the schools that don't have the means, let them battle it out for pride and everything else. Because right now it's just like, if you don't have the finances, you just hope and pray. But if you give them something to fight for and play for, and you put them in their own little, NFC, and you have an AFC over here, or then you do the soccer relegating up and down. I mean, you got it. We have to change it to the way it is, because you're going to have a lot of those schools. Probably, I don't know if they'll ever crumble, but it's going to be like, well, what are we doing? Because we know we can't pay these kids. We know that, all these coaches and everything else. It's going to be a shame, because the days of like when we were all in high school and stuff, it was like, man, if we got 12 people to go over here and try to make them good again, or bring them up through the rises, we're going to be legends. We're going to be heroes, instead of going and sitting for 4 or 5 years at Alabama, not getting to play at all when, yeah, we're good and we got developed. Man, what would it have been like if we would have went to, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, wherever to put them on the map? You know what I mean? Like it's just, but hey, that's where we're headed. That's what it's going to be. And, and we'll see what shakes out, but something's going to have to change, because you're going to either have to make it like a AFC, NFC kind of thing, like the pro. Cause I think that's really kind of what they want to do anyways, is make it more of a pro model, because you can't have 24 fucking teams in the Big Ten, 18 teams in the SEC. Like what is that? You might as well just split this thing down, this right down the middle, make 2 big conferences and just let everybody go ham.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I'd be interesting to see where the landscape is in 10 years with all the recent conference realignment. We'll be interested to see what they look like in 10 years, especially once the playoffs start next year, the new version. We'll see what that kind of looks like moving forward.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, what happened with the Twins that were committed to Michigan? Why did they go to Kentucky?
So they said they grew up, I believe they grew up in Detroit, or they have family in Detroit, and that was their original reason. But I think they had ties to Kentucky of some sort.
Kentucky's building a program. I mean,
I think that's why they decommitted. I know there were 2 4-star prospects, definitely losses on our end, but I think we're big enough, or we're at the point to where there's always.
Yeah, it's not going to kill your guys' class, but I thought that was really interesting for them to flip from Michigan to Kentucky.
I think it was due to family ties, and I think it was due to personal ties. I don't think it was anything specifically to do with like Kentucky did this specific offer and it stole us away. It could have been, it could have been something where Michigan was like, well, we're only going to offer you guys this much. You're 2 4-stars. We have a bunch of 5-stars coming. We don't, you whatever. And we already have guys at that position that we're going to be playing. Versus Kentucky could have said, we'll give you playing time and, the same amount of money, or maybe a little bit more money. It could have been that. It very well could have been. I think kind of going based on the conversation we just had, I think we're at a point, I think even Nebraska and Iowa are at a point too, where it's like, yeah, you lose a player here or there, there's always another player that wants to play for your program that you can go
Mhm.
reach out to and say, hey, we told you no a month ago. We're going to tell you yes now. Why don't you come and play for us instead? Or why don't, hey, you committed to Michigan State. Why don't you come play for us instead? They don't even have a coach, stuff like that. So you can kind of, our coach doesn't have non-consensual phone calls or whatever the hell that was. So, so that, you can kind of go down that path or, and stuff like that. So I think we'll be okay. It was definitely a weird one, just seeing those two guys walk away. It makes sense though, that if one's going to leave, the other's going to leave. They're twins. So
I know Nebraska was in the running for the one that committed late, but I think a lot of these kids they're not dumb either. They're going to use these really big schools to build up followers, to get the financial means off of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, because you can get paid with the amount of followers and stuff. And then you at the end of the day, Nebraska, we haven't been, great, but we have a fan base that will follow you, will love you, will do what it is. And your followers will quadruple. You can start making money off of that. And then you can go to the school that you always wanted to go to anyways. It's not a bad ploy by these kids though. If you think about it, you go to the Tennessee, the Penn State, you go to all of our schools, you build up those followers. And then knowing in the back of their mind, you're always going to go to Texas, or you were always going to go to X. But you know what? You used all them damn fan bases to get all them fucking fans and to get that extra money. So now your NIL deal is $450,000, but now you're making an extra $100,000 off of your socials.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't knock them on it. I just, I get fatigued when we bring in these 5 stars and we're like, oh, here we go. And then they're like, nah,
never
just
mind.
kidding. I'm just like, oh, you little bitch fuck. I'm going to write you a nasty message on Instagram.
All right.
Well, they said Shedeur Sanders might make $10 million next year if he comes back to college. That was an article I read. $10 million, dude.
Well, that was the whole thing with like Bryce Young. Like he could have stayed at Alabama and made more money in Alabama this year than what he was making in Carolina. And like with Caleb Williams, he doesn't necessarily have to go to the draft. Like these kids got to realize if Arizona is the first overall pick and you can just see that they are a dumpster fire from top to bottom, I'm coming back. I'm going to come back to school and I'm going to make more money. And then hope to God Arizona is not good or, they get a little bit better. But, I mean, these kids got to start thinking like NIL, you don't have to go to the pros right off of Jump Street anymore.
You have an option.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. I think it's good.
So we're meeting later.
Yep.
Later for the Iowa and Ohio State game.
It will be 6:20 Central Time.
5:30 my time. I will probably be in a little bit late. I'll shoot you. Just send me the link, and I'll shoot you a message when I'm hopping on.
All right, guys. Have a fun college football day.
I'll talk to you guys later.
See you, boys.
Trying to break the day. Martinez up the sideline. Still running. Look at it. Taylor Martinez. What a run. He's got away. Martinez. Wow. Taylor Martinez. Touchdown. Huskers. Play fake. Beathard sets up deep in the pocket. Goes down the field for Smith.
Has some time. One corner of the end zone. Touchdown!